Hello guys, I'm Bethany. Welcome back to my channel. Today, it is June, so I'm going to tell you all the books that I read in May. But I have to be honest with you, May wasn't a great reading month, like quality-wise. I somehow read 12 books, but not many of them were really great. I'm just going to be honest because I don't really know what was wrong, honestly. Like, I had one 5-star read and it was a reread. If that tells you anything about this month, and I feel like usually I have 1 or 2 5-star reads each month, but this month wasn't great. Also, the sun is going to be in and out, so just ignore that. I was in a reading slump a good bit of the month. Like, I just couldn't find anything that would interest me. I literally picked up like 10 books and started them and didn't like them. So I like got bored and put them back and didn't continue. That's not an exaggeration, that's truth. Even though it was not a great month, I'm still gonna tell you what I read. First, I read Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. I actually did a reading vlog on this book, so I'll link below if you want to watch me read it. And this was one of my most anticipated releases of 2023. Like, I was so excited for this book because I loved Every Summer After. It was one of my favorite books of 2022. And so I had high hopes for this book, and it did not live up to my hopes. I have to be honest. I was really disappointed by this book. It's like a dual timeline, second chance romance, where this girl named Fern meets this guy named Will, and they spend one day together, and then they decide that they're going to meet up a year later, and then Will doesn't show up, and then Will arrives at Fern's like lakeside resort 10 years later. It sounds really good. I feel like that plot sounds good, but I feel like when you have like they only met for one day, that's very hard to do to make it seem believable. And so I gave this 4 stars in my reading blog, but since then I bumped it down to 3 stars because there's more I didn't like about it than I did like about it. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I really loved the setting. Like, if you're looking for a summer read, this is a great book because it's gonna give you the summer setting. I loved the lakeside resort. I just loved like the vibes, the setting. Like, thinking about a lakeside resort sounds so fun, but I didn't connect to the characters. The characters bothered me a lot of the time. Like, Will did some things that I was like annoyed by, but then I kind of understood. And so I kept going back and forth, but overall I just didn't love this book as much as I was hoping. And so yeah, I'm very disappointed, but the cover is really cute. That's about all I have to say about it. So next, I reread Practice Makes Perfect, and this was so much fun. Literally the highlight of my month was rereading this book. I got it in the mail and I was like, I have to reread it because I read an arc a few months ago and it's literally one of my favorite books of the year. So I reread it, had a freaking blast. I actually listened to Sarah Adams' playlist that she listened to while she was writing the book. I listened to it while I was rereading it, and that was just literally the best experience. Like, I loved it so much. Like, the songs with the book, it was a great experience. So 5 stars, love it. It's a small town romance. It's after When in Rome, so I would recommend reading When in Rome first. The first book is about Amelia and Noah. Amelia is like a pop star. Noah's a baker, like a pie shop owner in the small town named Rome, Kentucky. This book is about Annie, Noah's sister, and Will, Amelia's bodyguard. So loved it so much. So good. Also, there's a little bit of spice in this book, and this is closed door. Also, as I was getting the books for this video, I realized that I read 3 physical books and the rest were on my Kindle, so I'll have them on the screen. Next, I read The Upside of Falling by Alex Light. This is a YA romance, and I feel like this one kind of helped me get out of my slump. It was a book that I was able to actually read during my slump because nothing interested me, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna read this. And it kind of helped me a little bit. Like, I was intrigued enough to keep reading, and it's basically about this girl and this guy they fake date in high school. That's pretty much it. Also, I've decided with my wrap-ups, I'm going to be relatively vague with my descriptions of the book because sometimes I want to go in more blind than people will describe a book, and it's like a little bit too much information. So I'm gonna give you maybe the tropes, things like that aren't going to spoil anything, so you're still able to like know a little bit of what the book's about, but the book's not being ruined for you. Like, the first 50 to 100 pages aren't being ruined for you by me giving you the summary. So that's basically what the book is about, and I really enjoyed it. It was cheesy, but I liked the cheese. Like, it was a good time. I have to be honest, I gave it a 4.5, but I might give it down to like a 4. I don't know. I did really enjoy it, but it's one of those books like you enjoy and then you forget about, you know what I mean? And I almost felt like the writing got better as the book progressed. I don't know, maybe maybe I'm crazy, I don't really know. And Becca, the main character, loved to read, which I really enjoyed that aspect of the book. Overall, really enjoyed it. It was a cute, good time. It was less than 300 pages. So good. So next, I started a series, and this was actually what kind of got me out of my slump. It was something that like intrigued me enough past the first chapter to keep reading, and that is Indigo Ridge by Bethany Perry. This is the first book in the Eden series, and I read all 4 of them this month, but I didn't read them in completely in order, but I will talk about the first 3 because I did read those in order. So I'm not going to tell you what these specifically each are about because I found it way more fun to go into it blind, but pretty much all the books are about a different Eden sibling. And so the Edens own like a ranch and a hotel and all these businesses in this town called Quincy, Montana. Yeah, so they're in this small town, Quincy, Montana. The Edens own a lot of businesses and they have 6 siblings. So there's going to be 6 different books about each sibling. So the first book was so good. I loved it so much. There is a big aspect of mystery in this book, which I really loved, because one of the main characters is the new chief of police, and so it's very, very interesting because they find a dead body and she's trying to figure out what happened with that. So I love the mystery aspect, but I love the romance. I thought it was just so good. Like, I had a great time reading it, and me and my husband actually just finished watching The Rookie, and it was such a good show, and this kind of like gave me the aspect of it a little bit in a book because it was a romance, but it had a mystery in it with the chief of police. And I just found it really, really good. Like, the vibes were good. Like, I loved it so much. I ate it up. It's dual POV. All of her books are dual POV, which I love that. Love it so much. They are friends with benefits for a good bit of the book, so there's a good bit of spice. I feel like, honestly, in Bethany Perry's books, there's a decent bit of spice. So just be aware of that. But as we go, as I talk about each book, I will tell you, like, the ones that had the most spice and the spice that bothered me. Does that make sense? So this one wasn't too bad. There was only like 1 or 2 scenes maybe, but it is talked about in passing, so you know, just be aware of that. Found Family. It's a series. It was just so good. I loved it so much. I gave it 4.5 stars. Highly, highly recommend. And then I read Juniper Hill, which is the second one, and I gave this one 4.75 stars. It's my favorite in the series, and it was so good. It's about a chef. Are you kidding? And this girl who moves to Quincy from New York City, and she has a little boy. So we have like a single parent trope. So good. I love the romance in this so much. I feel like the mystery in the first book is like superior, and then the romance in the second book is superior, you know what I mean? So loved it so much. The main guy character is a sweetheart, and it was just so good. And I love that you're able to see bits of the characters from the first book in the second book, and it goes on as you continue the series. You see each character from previous books and, you know, the book you're reading. Does that make sense? Anyways, there's some spice in this, but I just really loved it. Highly, just really enjoyed that one. And then the next one is Garnet Flats, and I gave this 3.75 stars. It was my favorite. It's actually my least favorite in the series. I like the characters and I like the romance, but part of the plot like bothered me. I don't know what it was. It's a second chance romance, which usually I really enjoy, but some parts of it it was like almost like a wild scenario that was happening that I was like, this is just interesting. This is a wild scenario. I think the spice in this one was a bit more and a bit unnecessary, to be honest. So that's my opinion on that. I still like enjoyed my experience. I feel like the series was just so good. Like, I love reading it, but it wasn't like as good as the first two. Next, I read The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. I rated this 4.25 stars. Might bump it up, might keep it there. I don't really know, but I love this book. It's like the perfect rom-com. It's the first book that I've read of Lynn Painter's adult romances. I've read her YA romances, but this is my first adult. And it is the second book in the Mr. Wrong Number series, and I did read them out of order. I read the other one this month too, but you know, it's fine. It's like the perfect rom-com, cute, quick to read. I love the characters, and the banter was so good. I was like giggling and smiling the whole time. Like, I literally love this book. It was so good, and I feel like I still think about it. Like, I really loved the characters of this book. It wasn't third person, but honestly, I didn't mind it. I'm pretty sure it's third person, but you still get both points of view. I do like miss the characters of this book. I just thought it was so good. I loved it so much. It's like honestly, I should probably look what the plot is because I already forgot. So basically, this girl named Hallie gets a new apartment, a new wardrobe, all this stuff, and is like, I'm going to, like, you know, get a glow up, and I'm gonna try to find a guy on this dating app. And then while she's on this dating app, she matches with a guy that she already met at this wedding that she like worked at, and then they make this wager to see who can find love first. And then, you know, they become friends and things like that, and you see what happens. This is about the character Olivia from Mr. Wrong Number. Her brother Jack is this book, is what it's about. So you get little glimpses of the first two characters. If I read it in order, it would have probably been more of a better experience, but you know, it's fine. The only thing I didn't love about this book is there was something that could have been communicated way sooner, and it would have just avoided the conflict. And it almost felt like it was so there would be conflict at the end of the book, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't communicate it because it would create conflict for the plot, which was annoying. That bothered me so much. I was like, you should have communicated this immediately, and you didn't. And that bothered me a lot. So next is a very hyped up book, Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Everyone and their mother probably is reading this or read this in May, has this in the wrap up, and I went on a wild goose chase for this book because I bought it on Amazon and it was gonna take weeks to arrive. And I was in Nashville with my book besties, Allie and Reagan, and I found it at a location in Nashville. And so we went to get it. Actually, I made an order, like a pickup order for one location, and then it was sold out, and then I had to change locations. It was a whole ordeal. Basically, it was an ordeal to get this book, especially with the dragons on the side, like the sprayed edges, because I was afraid my Amazon order wouldn't have sprayed edges, but it did come in the mail the other day and it did have sprayed edges, but I just sold it to someone. Anyways, it's a whole ordeal. But basically, I read Fourth Wing, which is taking the world by storm, and it is basically about this girl named Violet, and there's these different quadrants, and when you get to a certain age you get to pick which one you want to be in. And so Violet planned to be in the scribes quadrant, which is like scholars, and then you can also be like a doctor, or you can be a rider, which is basically you learn how to ride dragons. And so her mom is the commanding general and is like, sorry, you're not going to do the scribes, you're gonna become a writer. And so she goes to the writer's quadrant, and it definitely gives Divergent vibes, like all the things that you have to do to like train to become a dragon rider in comparison to Dauntless and Divergent. So a lot of the things that happen in this book, like even like the first like chain of events that happen and the trials that they have to do in the writer's quadrant really reminisced of Divergent, which I really loved because I love Divergent. And people could also compare it to Harry Potter because there's a college, it's like a war college, but I've never read that, never watched that, so I can't tell you, but that's what people tell me. And I did really enjoy this book. Like I thought it was so much fun. Like I literally had a great time. I didn't want to like stop reading. Like I really had a great time, enjoyed every minute of it. I feel like a lot of times with fantasy, like you have to get to the good, like you have to dig through the rubble to get to the good. Like the first 50 pages are building stuff, and then in the middle it gets slow, and it gets really good. You know what I mean? If you read fantasy, you know what I'm talking about. But this book, I feel like the whole book was interesting. It was fun. Like I wasn't bored. Like I just kept wanting to read, and I loved like every minute of it. There wasn't like a section of the book where I felt like should be taken out because nothing happened. And there's romance in it. It's like an enemies to lovers, and I thought that was really good. I love the friendship aspect of it. The end had me shook to my core, and I cannot wait for the second book. But overall, it just didn't like knock my socks off like Shatter Me has. Shatter Me series is my favorite series of all time, and it just didn't compare to that. But I did really enjoy it. I thought it was really good. I gave it 4.5 stars. Honestly, for a while I didn't really know what to rate it because I feel like I did really enjoy it, and there wasn't one specific thing that I didn't like about it, but it just didn't give me that 5-star feeling, you know what I mean? So if you're wanting to skip the spice, chapters 30 and 32 are the chapters with the spicy scenes, but I wouldn't skip them fully because there's dialogue in those that you're gonna want to know if you want to know the romance. So I would just maybe like skim and get to that part. It's like the end, maybe the beginning, I don't really know. So just be aware of that. Also, I feel like I have to say that some people are like, this is like done before. Like there's nothing new about this book. And I just have to say, can we just have a book be fun? Like we don't have to like overanalyze it. Like it can just be a fun time. Like it doesn't have to be overanalyzed. Like, is that all correct? Is that all like profound? Like, is this the most profound book you've ever read? No, but it was like a great time. And let's just enjoy a book for a great time. Like I had a blast reading this. I do recommend it. I think it's a great book, and I cannot wait for the second one. Like I loved it truly, but it just didn't give me the 5-star feeling. So I didn't give it 5 stars, but I did love it. So I highly recommend if you haven't read it yet. Okay, next I read the last book that is out of the Eden series, which is Jasper Vale. And this one I did enjoy. I gave it 4 stars. It's like, I would say Juniper Hill, Indigo Ridge, Jasper Vale, and then Garnet Flats, if I had to rank them. I really enjoyed this book. This is like a accidental marriage, fake marriage, marriage of convenience kind of thing, which I always enjoy in a book, but I feel like the spice in this book gave me the ick. Like, I don't like spice anyways, but I feel like there was something about this book. I don't know what it was, but like, it was just weird. Like, it gave me the ick. I do wish the romance was a little more developed and it was less like lust focused. I feel like more to the end it got better, but I feel like for a lot of it, it was very lust focused. I want to see you build a connection. I want to see, you know, like, because I love Marriage of Convenience. I think it can be really fun to read. But I feel like the only book that I've read that's Marriage of Convenience was a Friends to Lovers. Like, they were already best friends. So I don't really know. Once the main guy character let his walls down, it was really good. But I feel like I had to get through the first half because I was struggling, but I did really enjoy it. Like, it was good. I loved the Eden series, and I cannot wait for book 5. It's called Crimson River, and I literally can't wait. I'm so annoyed because apparently there was ARC signups that I didn't know about, and they're closed now. So I'm gonna have to wait till June 15th. And I'm not a patient person. So on June 15th, literally I will be getting on my Kindle immediately and reading that book because it'll be on Kindle Unlimited. I will be reading it that day. Okay, next I read Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. This is about Olivia and Colin, and basically Olivia moves in with her brother Jack, which is who the Love Wager is about, and she like lives there for a month, and Jack's roommate is Colin, and they are like, not childhood enemies, but like they always picked on, like he picked on her as a kid, like that kind of relationship, and you probably know what happens. So it was cute, it was fun, it wasn't my favorite. I gave it 3.75 stars. Did I say that already? I don't know. The end, like the last sentence, I was like, okay, this is a little too cheesy for me, and I love cheese, but I was like, okay, a little too much. And also in this book, I wish something was communicated way sooner. I feel like that was a theme in these books, is there was something that could have been communicated way sooner, like way sooner, and it would not have been a big deal. But then there would have been conflict who, you know, resolve. So I don't really know, but it was a good rom-com. I had a good time, but it wasn't as good as The Love Wager, and it wasn't my favorite of the month. Okay, next I read a short story, which is The Edens, a legacy short story. I think she just came out with this in May, and it's basically about Anne and Harrison, and it's like where the parents of the Edens kind of originated, which is really, really fun. It was like 50 pages. I read it at work one day, and it was great. It was a good time. I didn't write it because it was just literally like 50 pages, but it was really enjoyable. I loved seeing where they originated, especially because like obviously the books we're reading now are their kids, so to see like them before they had kids was really, really cute. There was like a tiny bit of spice at the end, so loved it. Thought it was great. And then I read The Bribe by Bethany Perry. This is another small town romance in Calamity, Montana. This is the first book. Rachel Catherine's talked about these books, and so I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot because it sounded good. I love a small town romance, and I've been loving Bethany Perry. I read a lot of her this month, and I enjoyed it. It was a great time. It was set in a small town, obviously. It's basically about this girl who is a country musician. Like, she is a famous country singer, and she lives in Asheville, which is really cool. But she's like running away from her life, and she decides to live in Calamity, Montana. She meets this guy that lives there. What's his name? His name is Duke. She meets him, and he like wants to know why she moved, and so she like makes a bribe with him, like, I will give you this money if you don't tell anyone that I'm here, because I'm trying to hide away, you know? The first like 50 pages, I feel like she said the word bribe like 20 million times, but after that it was okay. That was just annoying. I didn't have a giddy feeling about the characters, and it felt kind of insta-lovey almost, or like insta relationship. Like, there was no like pining, no slow burn. It was very quick. But I feel like I really enjoy law enforcement in romances. I forgot to say Duke is a sheriff in Calamity, Montana. It was fun. Like, I enjoyed the sheriff and the like country singer. I thought that was really cool. That's pretty much it. I gave it 3.5 stars because it was good. It was a good time. I love the small town vibes, but just not incredible. Nothing anticlimactic. Nothing over the top that hit me in the face that I'm gonna think about forever. You know what I mean? It was spicy, like a decent bit spicy. I feel like probably spicier than the Edens. I don't really know. I feel like her books are just spicy. So anyways, that's all the books that I read in May, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you read in May and what you plan to read in June. I'm so excited for all the summer romances that I'm gonna read in June. I am so pumped. It's gonna be so great. So yeah, anyways, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you very soon for my next video. Bye.